I'm Pastor Chira, and today we launch. We launch into new mindset. We launch into new territory. We launch into new relationship. Are you ready to launch out? Come on and launch out with me as we go into this conversation. So today, we have someone who has been on a journey, and she and I have been through a journey years ago. Yes, I'm talking years. About 30 years ago is when I first met this young lady, and we have been connected ever since. Not always in communication, but always connected. And I value that because she has always been someone that no matter what, no matter where we've been, she remembers me, I remember her, and it's like day one. We never stop. We never stop to love. We never stop the connection. So I want to introduce to the world Jana, who is a longtime friend of mine, and I just love her to pieces. And I want everybody to welcome her to the Pastor Chira Show. Welcome, Jana.
Thank you, Chira. Oh my goodness, it's so good to be here.
It's so good to see you. We haven't seen each other, and I know this is virtual because everything's virtual, but I mean, we haven't seen each other for real in what's been 30 some years maybe. Yikes! It's been a long time.
I think fifth grade, or I don't remember. I remember we were really close, and we spent all our little afternoons together in fifth grade, something like that.
We did. All our little afternoons together, and it was an amazing time, and I'm so grateful for that time that has gotten us to this time. But before we get into that, how about you just introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi everybody, it's so good to be here. My name is Jana, and I have been on a journey. I have been on a journey of oh my goodness, where do I begin? I guess I wanted to say right away, the journey of alcoholism was what is always forefront on my mind of a journey. That's the journey that reminds me of my beginning journey with my family, and it reminds me of where I am today, keeps me grounded. And I'm just so grateful to be here and give some of you my experience. Born again Christian, 2 grown children. I have a granddaughter. I have a business that I run on a regular basis. Long days, long hours, but it brings me a lot of gratitude. Just how do I back up to all these years of what God has been doing in my life and putting all these pieces together, and especially Chira. We met in 5th grade, so it's think about how the seeds that were planted back then, to be sitting here across from her and looking at her beautiful face and knowing that she's been a friend for life. And it's just a wonderful thing. And we'll see what this brings. We'll see what kind of conversation I can bring to you and bring some hope, bring some love from my heart to yours.
Oh, yes. Okay, you just made me cry. So, okay. Yes. So, and it has been a journey, and we did start in, 5th grade in school, right? At our elementary school. But then I think it maybe built a little stronger when I started coming to Hatboro Baptist Church, right? And I think I am going to cry. So when I came to Hatboro Baptist Church, and you were there because your father was the pastor, and I was my brothers and we were the only dark faces in the church, right? And that was a little much for us. And you always were like, no, come on, you're with me, right? And we always sat together. And you always made sure that we were loved and we felt the love when we were there. And I so appreciate that. And how did that transcend for you, being the pastor's daughter and having those kind of responsibilities at that time because we were so young?
I don't even remember it as a responsibility. I don't remember it as something that I felt that I had to do. When I was in that church, growing up in that church, that was such a comfortable place for me to be. It was like that was my second home. I was surrounded by people that I knew. We moved there when I was 3 years old. So it was everybody that I knew in that church I had known for such a long time. And it was, like I said, it was a home away from home. And so I didn't feel it was like a natural thing for me to just bring people in close to me, because I felt so close to everybody around me.
Do you see that churches today, houses of worship, I'm going to call it that, houses of worship, are still the safe place for people to come to grow, and to learn?
I do. I do. I think for me, it's been a harder journey as I've been since I've moved to New Jersey, and all of my life having my dad as the pastor was like the easy. It made going to church easy because
Yeah.
I followed him wherever he went, and I still do. Like he still preaches in some churches, and I follow him. But it's been important to me lately to find my own, family in a new church surrounding, and it's been a very hard process for me. I feel safe. I have felt safe in every church that I have been in. We did some church shopping in a
Mm.
way to look for a place that felt comfortable. And I just recently in the last couple months found a place that I feel safe in. I feel safer than, or maybe it's not even safer. Maybe I just feel like it's another home, and that's
Yeah.
what I was looking for, that feeling, because I respect there's so many different kinds of churches you can go to. I've just had this, you grow up in a church with your dad as the minister, you get picky. I want this certain feeling. I want this
Yeah.
certain, whatever. And I've had to just keep looking, but God finally brought me to this church recently that I adore. I'm really enjoying being there. So
Did you find this place during, because we're all, even us right now, like we're all still very virtual, right? So did you find this place pre-pandemic or during pandemic?
during pandemic.
Really? And
Mhm.
how did you go through that process? Because I know that there are people that are watching that are like, how do I find a place, a safe place virtually that I can feel like I can go to physically when we're out of this time of separation and we can come back together? Like, how were you able to find that?
Well, it's kind of a cool story. I'll try to be as brief about it as possible because I was watching. I had a friend of mine from Pennsylvania send me a link to an online church,
Okay.
and I fell in love with that online church, the virtual church. It was a new church back in Pennsylvania that I'd never been to, even when I lived there, and I was watching that every Sunday, and I was enjoying it so much that I was wanting to get connected to that church. So
Mm.
I sent in a message to the church asking of how I can get connected further. And one of the associate pastors called me, and we had a really cool conversation. And I was saying, I realize that I'm in New Jersey and you're in Pennsylvania, but I really like your church. I really like the message. I feel really comfortable, and I grow when I listen, and I just enjoy the service so much. And I said, but I know I can't get connected there. And he said, well, how about if we maybe I know somebody. And I said, yeah, maybe you know somebody in New Jersey that you could connect me to. And he said, you know what, I have a friend of mine, a church member that went here to
Mm-hmm.
this church, and he just moved to New Jersey. Let me get a hold of him and find out where he goes. And in discussing who this person was, I realized it was a friend of our family that had moved from Pennsylvania to New Jersey. We were talking about it was the same person. So I reached out to him, and he just described the process to me at that church, that they have social distancing. They have all the chairs all spread out and socially distanced, and you wear a mask. and you go in with your mask on and you find your seat and you sit down. If you're sitting down, you can take your mask off. If you get up to move, you have to put your mask back on again. And my mom went with me the first time, and we had our masks on, and we felt very comfortable with it. Nobody's too close to you. It's just,
Right.
it was a wonderful service. And I've been going ever since.
So it is possible to find a ministry to connect with and connect to, and that will connect with you in this pandemic season, right? It's possible.
Yes.
So, everybody out there listening and watching, please know that you do not have to stay disconnected from a house of worship because we are doing it virtually. There are ways to find ways to connect and be connected if you want to. Because, Jana, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like you wanted to be connected. You needed to be connected. You wanted, like you had something that was driving you in order to be connected to a ministry. Is that from your foundation? Would you say that that's from your foundation? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I got away from it for so long in my active alcoholism, and then it took me some time to get back to it. And now it's just been so important to me to be around other Christian women and be around other Christian people, and just get into a family of Christians. That I have that with my family, with my parents.
Right.
My parents are Christians. I'm a Christian. I don't have a lot of friends that are Christians. I mean, even people in recovery, there's not a lot of people that are Christians. And so, it's just what I needed. And so I prayed about it, and I think I've been praying about a new church for 2 years, and it's just finally God brought me to the church.
Wow. Okay, so wow, that's amazing, because we all are on a journey, right? And so, but today we're going to talk about the journey of mothering through. But we're going to take a quick commercial break, and on the other side, we're going to talk about the journey that you went through and how you got through your journey and are still on it of mothering through. We'll be right back.
You can join us virtually or at the church, located at 458 East Rittenhouse Street in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Welcome back. We are talking to Jana Fletcher, and we're about to go into the part of the conversation that talks about the journey of alcoholism and journeying through mothering. So, Jana, you started the conversation on the other side about, really wanting to be connected because you felt the lack of connection when you went into your addiction, alcoholism. How did that happen, coming from a family where you were so rooted, grounded, and in foundation of Christ? How did that happen?
The world became too important. When we talked about it, we touched on it when we talked about how safe I felt in church. I was surrounded so much with that safety net that I never, at any time in my youth, took the time to discover my own relationship with God.
Okay.
I never touched on it, never built on it, didn't know how to do it. We would talk about Jesus in Sunday school. We would talk about the Bible. We would talk about books. We would talk about stuff, like surface stuff.
Yeah.
But I was
stuff.
not
I'm sorry,
surface.
but that's key. We talk about surface stuff. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I never understood how I was to create a relationship with God, and I struggled with that when I got sober. I wanted to look back. I would ask myself that question all the time, like, how did I become an alcoholic coming from a minister's family? Like my dad's a Baptist minister. How did that happen? And I blamed him a lot for my alcoholism because I really thought that he should have done more. I thought that he enabled me. I thought that he should have taught me more about God. I thought, I had so many questions for him when I got sober, and I'm still understanding it, and part of what he described it as was he just didn't want to overdo God in our lives. I forget how he said it. He didn't want to preach at us. He didn't want to, like, my mom really wanted to do a Bible study in the home after dinner at night, and he said no. He said, I don't want my children to get in this place where they start to rebel against God because I've shoved God down their throats. And so I didn't understand. I loved everything about it. I loved everything about church. I loved everything about my parents' relationship with God. I watched them have a wonderful, beautiful relationship with God, and I had no idea how to do it. And when the day came, it started in my early teens. The world became more important, and I had my first drink, and then that was so much easier than a relationship with God because I didn't know how to do it. And I had a drink, and I had a drug, and I had a boyfriend, and it just started from there. And we call it the easier, softer way. Like, that was the easier, softer way for me, was to have that relationship and have somebody else to give me the comfort. And that was the key that I learned that took me on a very long journey away from anything that I had ever known, was searching for that comfort. And when I finally got to the other side of alcoholism, I mean, I'm still an alcoholic, but I'm sober alcoholic. I had to really learn and realize that the only person that's ever going to fulfill me in the way that I was searching for all my life is God. And I try to put that on a man. I try to put it on a bottle. I try to put it on food. I try to put it on a lot of things. And that was just never going to be the fulfillment. And I went the wrong way for a really long time, searching for something I was never going to find.
So you said that, you said a lot. But you said the drink, the world became more important. The drink became an easier way. Like, it was, so instead of trying to build this relationship, I see this bottle, I see this, I can hold this. This is tangible,
yes, exactly.
Right? I can taste this. Right? I can't see God. I can feel him, but I can't see him. I can't touch him. I can't, right? So the tangibles became more important than the intangibles. Is that, am I hearing you right?
Yes.
And so in that process, so you said, and then there was somebody, you had a boyfriend, right? So he's tangible, but he was the wrong tangible, maybe?
Right.
Yeah. So now he's the wrong tangible, but we're going, right? And you got married, right? So you did get married, and you had children, right? So in that, because you said you have 2 grown children and a beautiful grandbaby who's just adorable, but we won't go there. But in all of this, you had children, and so were you? In raising your children, were you more in the addicted phase raising your children, or the non-addicted phase?
It started out as in the beginning, when I had my children were part of the tangible. When I had my daughter first, he was part of the tangible. I wanted some more fulfillment. So I thought having a baby was a really good idea. And I was 22 years old. I was young. I mean, I look at my children now and I think, oh my goodness, I was really young. And and then I had my son when I was 24. And it was just that it was more of that, let's fulfill me with something. I was a very good mom. When I had my children, like, my first drink was at 13, 14 years old. I put it down for a while. When I got pregnant with my children, I didn't care about drinking. I
Okay.
went for a long period of time that I did not drink.
Good.
Um, but then when my kids were like 4 and 6 years old, I got restless, and then that's when it started again. And I didn't want to. I didn't have a relationship with God. I was going to church, but I didn't have a relationship with God. I
Mm.
was going through the motions. I was teaching Sunday school. My husband and I were teaching Sunday school, teaching youth group. But I would read the words, like I would read the script. I would be able. I knew what I had to study, and I could read the words, but nothing went from my head to my heart at all whatsoever. Um, so if my kids were like 4 and 6 years old, I got a bartending job. I got a divorce. I got a bartending job. Sold my house. Like everything just started to spiral in a different direction because I was going in a different direction. Like I was making choices. I was really feeling part of the world at that point and not wanting to be in church. I was feeling very guilty and shameful and not fitting in. I remember the day that I walked out of church because I
Mm.
thought I don't belong here or something didn't feel right or whatever it was. And it took me a long time to go back, but we just split. I mean, he went his way and we decided on partial custody with the kids, and I would have them Monday through Friday, and I was kind of still hanging on at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could still do the Monday through Friday thing with the kids. I mean, and then he would come home on the weekends, take the kids, and then I would go out for the weekend and be crazy.
Right.
And then I would come back on Monday and try to be mom again. And it became such a huge struggle for me because I didn't know how to. I was living two separate lives. I was
Yeah.
living mom for Monday through Friday and taking the kids to daycare and going to work part-time and being everything that I was supposed to do and then I could not wait for Friday night. I couldn't wait to get out and just be me and escape and live in the world and do what I wanted to do. But after a period of time that all starts to mesh together.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the mothering through, because you talked about like Monday through Friday, like I'm mothering, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how did that transcend for the children though? Like how were they? Are they still? Is that foundation still there for them? Are they having a hard time? Have y'all had conversations about this? Like, how did you, and how are you still? Because it's still a process. It doesn't
Right.
stop. It's still a continual process, right? So how are you mothering through?
Oh, that's a huge question. We started when I got sober 10 years ago. We started out great immediately. My kids were just happy to have me back. I mean, it was like mom's back. We started out really slow. I was living in New Jersey, and they were living with their dad in Pennsylvania. Through at the end of my alcoholism, at the end of my active alcoholism, I had gotten to the point where I was only seeing my kids here and there because I
Mm.
just couldn't pull it together. I couldn't pick up the phone. I couldn't see them. I just couldn't. I couldn't put it together. It was like it was too hard to see them. And so I chose not to. I had so much guilt that it was easier to not see them. And so I was seeing them here and there. We didn't have much of relationships with each other. So when I got sober, my kids visited me in New Jersey often. I was living at my parents' house. And then we talked about it, and I made amends to my children, and I told them at that time I could make amends on the level that I only of what I understood of what I wanted to repair our relationship. But it took me. I walked 10 years into the woods. I got to walk 10 years
Yeah.
out. Like it's going to take a long time. And immediately it was wonderful, but there have been many years of repair. My
Yeah.
son is an active alcoholic at this point, and my daughter is a good mom. I mean, she's opposite. She's a very good mom. She's a hard worker, but our relationships, especially my relationship with my daughter, is still strained.
Okay. Okay. So you're still mothering through. You're still mothering
Yes.
through in many ways. And so um, I'm glad that you are still the strong, independent saved Christian example that you are, because even though we do stray off the path at times, God always has a way of pulling us back in with His love, His kindness, His grace, and His mercy. And all we have to do is open up and receive it. And I'm so glad and I'm so proud of you for opening up and receiving the love and the grace and the mercy that He's always had for you. And now you're able to show that through. Even today. I'm so proud of you. I thank you for coming on the Pastor Chira Show and sharing your story, because it's not easy to share some of the things that we go through, but I'm proud of you and I'm here with you and I'm here for you. I love you to life, and know you can always count on me to be there for you.
Thank you.
How can the people get in touch with you?
They can email me at my full name, Jana, JANNALFLEXER @gmail.com, or they can call me. My phone number is, do I want to put that out there? Sure. My phone number is 215-272-3577.
Listen, because you're a resource. And for those that don't know how to pull out, you'll help them, right? Because you know how.
Yeah.
And you know the prayers to pray, you know the scriptures to give, right? And you have the love to share. So I thank you for being that person. And listen, this isn't the first, it's the first time, but it's not the last time. You'll be back. Thank you, Jana.
Thank you, Chira.
So that was Jana Fletcher. Listen, I'm holding back the tears, because when we go through our journeys, when we journey through the things of life, listen, it's nothing but the grace of God that keeps us. But it's nothing but the grace of God that pulls us. His love pulls us. His love is drawing. He draws us. So allow His love, allow His grace, allow His mercy to draw you back in. You can be connected again. If you don't feel connected, you can be connected, because we are here to connect with you. This is the Pastor Chira Show, and I thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next week.